Welcome back. Joining us in studio right now, we have former State Rep John Stefanski in the building. Thank you for hanging out with us.
Yeah, absolutely. Glad to be here.
Of course. So legislative session, it's happening right now.
Yes.
And today we're kind of tackling educational savings accounts. For those at home that are hearing this for the first time, what is this?
So it is what it says. It's an educational savings account, but in essence, it's if you have a child who does not want to go to public school, it would be money for that child to go to an alternative school, whether it be a private school or a Catholic school or another different type of denomination. It's basically using your tax dollars to send a child to an alternative non-public school. That's in essence what it is.
Yeah, and so I know it was tabled in the Louisiana Senate. What does that mean? What's the next step for this bill?
So there's two bills.
Okay.
There's a House version by Representative Julie Emerson, and then there is also a Senate version by Senator Rick Edmonds. And they do different things, but they both are trying to allow children to be able to use that money to go to private schools. Or potentially homeschools.
Yeah.
So the Senate version has stalled, according to last night, but that could always be brought back up again. And the Senate version really is more, in the first year, more of a study, and the House has an element of a study as well. But the House is a little more aggressive on how the money's spent.
Yeah.
And I think the Senate version actually allows you to be able to use that money on homeschools as well. And so there's two bills, both are on the Senate side right now, and we're waiting to see what's going to happen with those.
So what does this mean essentially for parents? Does it give them more choice for schooling for kids?
100%. So one thing, if you're a parent who's already sending your kid to private school, you may now have money to send that child to private school that you've never had before. But if you're a parent who is unhappy with the public school that your child's currently going to, you may now have those resources to be able to send your child to private school. So I mean, if anyone who has school-age children, this is a huge, huge deal in Louisiana right now.
And then on the flip side of this, public school systems, how is this going to impact them? Is money going to be taken away from these public schools?
So that's what's scary. You know, it's as enrollment goes down from a public school, they lose resources automatically because the amount of money you get depends on how many children are enrolled. And then secondly, the big question with all of this is how are we going to pay for it? Other states that have this, the cost can be as high as $800 million.
Oh, wow.
And so where is this money going to come from? And in order to fund this, are they going to try to take from public school? Those are the questions that people are asking and that people are worried about. But you know, I continue to tell people what we're doing is not working. We're 50th in education in this state, and we have to look at other options for our children because the educational outcomes that they're getting at least in the public school sector is not competitive with other states right now.
Yeah, and I know this is kind of a new thing for Louisiana, and there's a lot of kind of unknown with something like this. In the long run, where do you think this bill is going to end up?
I think we'll see some form of it. You know, we have this in Louisiana right now. It's called the voucher system. And so there is the ability for a child to be able to go to a different private school and have state money to do that. This is putting that on steroids, you know. And so I think we will see it. I think the momentum is there to do it. A poll was just released today that this is a very popular, option that they're looking at. I think eventually we'll get there, but the biggest question is in the legislature and the governor and everyone who has to build our finances and build our budget is how are we going to be able to pay for this? Because you don't want to give people something and then take it away.
Yeah, and then we're almost out of time. I guess just final thoughts on this bill overall.
Yeah, so I've always been a person that likes to try new things, especially when we're talking about from a government standpoint. What we're doing isn't working. Like I've said before, we're 50th in the state. I think we have to look at ideas like this in order to be able to improve our children's chance of succeeding later in life. And so that's my opinion. Is it's a good thing as long as we can afford it. As long as we can afford it. And one element of this, I'll leave you on. There's an element if you have a disabled child as well. They can get even more money to be able to send them to a better school. So it really is a great initiative as long as we can pay for it.
Absolutely. And if people at home want to learn more about what's going on at the state capitol in this legislative session, is there a website they can go to?
Absolutely. I always encourage everybody to go to legis.la.gov. You can find everything. You can track these bills. You can watch it live. We have I said it last week, we have one of the best online systems in the entire nation. So legis.la.gov, keep track of what your senators and representatives are doing.
Thank you so much for hanging out with us and explaining this for those at home. If you want to rewatch this, KDN.com. Stay with us. We'll be right back after this.